Hey everyone, so I'm sitting outside in Soho right now, and I hope to share with you 5 lessons I learned from becoming a piano student again. So, right now it's November of 2024, and almost 10 years ago in 2015, I had my last lesson with my own great piano teacher, and he said at that time, you know enough about the piano to be on your own, to start to develop some of your own perspectives. And so that is what I did for nearly 10 years. I continued developing my methods and teaching. But recently, basically on a whim, I decided to go back to being a student in the sense of playing in some master classes for world level pianists, having some lessons as well. And I want to explain briefly why I chose to do that, and hopefully concisely, like 5 lessons that I learned in the process. So on this channel, I hope to share with you guys strategies, mindsets, thoughts, methods, etc. Often of my own creation that I hope will help you in your piano playing, hopefully other areas of your life as well. So my piano technique thankfully has come a long way in the last 10 years or so. So even after I finished getting my master's from Manhattan School, and I continued practicing very diligently on my own, I believe that the practicing, researching, teaching, performing, thinking, musings, everything that I did all this time, thankfully, I believe my piano playing is actually at a much higher level than when I was a student. But I'm always wanting to improve. I actually think it's atypical in our industry. Most of the time, once we've kind of made it as a professional pianist, we're teaching full-time, accompanying full-time, or whatever it may be. It's very difficult to have the drive and motivation to continue genuinely wanting to improve yourself. But I will share that I'm 35 at the time of making this video. I'm extremely passionate about becoming a much stronger pianist by the time I'm 37, by the time I'm 38, by the time I'm 40, 50, 60, and beyond. So, so I'm keeping that mindset. And I don't know about you guys, but at least for me, I still have piano techniques and aspects of piano playing that could always be stronger. I always want to continue to improve. And so I started realizing that if I attend this event that I heard about, and it turns out that it's actually through Tonebase. Maybe some of you know this great company. They've got some of the world's best pianists on their roster, teaching courses and everything like that. So they had a Tonebase Manhattan piano intensive, and I was eventually convinced that it was a really good idea to join. It seemed very welcoming. It seemed very friendly. And I mean, I'm absolutely willing to humble myself before the world's greatest artists, the world's greatest pianists, obviously. So I just thought that my chances of conquering some of my own technical difficulties, even though I've conquered a lot, like there's always more to do, I thought the chances are greatly increased that I could conquer them, that I could conquer them faster, and to just allow other perspectives into my system again. So that's the reason why I wanted to go, and I also just felt like there were other opportunities that would open up. So that's why overall I've just got some little notes here. So the first lesson that I learned is get out of your comfort zone if you want to grow. And I would say that I honestly am somebody that has continuously gotten out of my comfort zone in terms of piano, teaching, business. I've created very unusual programs. I am thankful that I've done innovative things in terms of my own practicing, my own teaching, life decisions. I've typically gotten out of my comfort zone and everything. But I think it's important to continue getting out of your comfort zone in new ways as well, too. And sometimes it means completely new ways. Sometimes it means something you haven't done in a really long time. So I remember as a student how much pressure it was to attend like really high level piano festivals, to play in master classes for great teachers, to have lessons and be nervous waiting outside my teacher's door. So I thought that would be a great way to make myself even more serious about piano now that my little business and life situation is such that I have the time and resources to do this. So I think that's a good, compelling reason to take care of yourself and actually take care of your own success, because if you have taken care of your own success enough, you're not worried about I don't have enough students, or worried about paying the rent or something, then you can afford to then invest your time, energy, and resources in self-learning and in bettering yourself so that you can then better help others, right? So anyway, I really wanted to get out of my comfort zone as a piano student again specifically. So, I attended the Gijón International Piano Festival in Spain in 2009, 2010, 2015. And the short version of that is that I was just surrounded by monsters sometimes, really, really, really high level playing. If any of you have ever heard of like Aspen Music Festival, for instance, like I would say, there were like Van Cliburn, like finalists and things like that. So it was actually terrifying, especially in 2009 when I attended for the first time. The level of playing was so high. So when I signed up for this, I was also prepared to basically be frightened by pianists that were much younger than me, possibly at a much higher level of playing even. And so that was what I was prepared for. And I thought, hey, that's a great way to make myself uncomfortable in a good way so that I can grow. And I only actually gradually realized after I'd signed up that the vast majority is actually serious adult amateurs. I thought I would be older at 35. Actually, I was one of the younger ones there, which is very interesting. So it turned out that the environment was not as high pressure as I'd originally anticipated, which, I think that was a nice bonus. I was willing to make myself even more uncomfortable. But I will say, it was still definitely a lot of pressure, waiting because I performed in 4 different masterclasses or workshops or clinics. One of the biggest names at this intensive was Sir Stephen Huff, who is, one of my favorite pianists and, one of the greatest pianists around today, I personally believe. So, so just waiting there to just play for him a little bit, that was definitely a lot of pressure, just like the waiting your turn to then, play in these special types of situations because, the masterclasses are in front of a live audience and everything. And then even just waiting for lessons and such overall, because I was able to put myself in these uncomfortable situations, I really got what I was looking for. I had some really important technical breakthroughs. I think either I wouldn't have had at all on my own, or it would have just taken way, way longer. So I definitely just grew a lot in terms of flat out pianistic ability, which is actually shocking because it was within like a very short time. And I know that I can continue to improve because of the information that I received, the lessons I recorded and everything. Looking at my notes here, the second lesson that I learned, and I think this is probably a paraphrase of some sort of Zen book. I'm not a serious like Zen student but I'm a big fan, of course, of the concepts and everything. So this idea of in the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, and in the experts, there are few. So if I'm sitting in isolation forever, not that I'm not open to other ideas, I've absorbed many different ideas from different fields, from research, from practice, from teaching, from listening to others, from watching YouTube videos and so on. But I hadn't absorbed within the specific context of serious classical piano lessons and master classes. So if I thought of myself like, I'm just an expert in this specific realm, I don't need lessons anymore. Like I'm good enough that I never need to play in another master class. I'm good enough that I never should seek another lesson. I don't think that that's a wrong answer per se. There are certainly many great pianists out there. That's what they choose to do, and that's totally fine. That's a right answer as well. But the moment that I decide like, hey, I'm a beginner here, or at least that's my mindset, I'm here to learn, I'm open to other perspectives. I think Bruce Lee may have said, talked about this concept of emptying the cup, right? If the cup is full and then you can't let in other perspectives like the water, like you're not going to be able to add more water to the cup. So if I empty the cup, if I try to free myself of a lot of preconceptions, put my own methods and thinkings aside for a second, that will greatly increase the chances that I can absorb new information, new perspectives, and that may create new chemical reactions that lead to new breakthroughs. So I think that this mindset of the beginner's mind, where you go somewhere, you're just ready to learn, you're just open, you're free, you see everything is full of possibilities, it's much more likely that you can absorb a great deal from whatever situation that you're in. So I found this very healthy and freeing, especially in this serious classical piano context, because it had been such a long time since I was in this context. Another thing that was really inspiring was that because I was surrounded by a lot of serious adult amateurs, I found that the amateur, there were some other professionals, there were some others that at a very high level of playing, and there were some amateurs actually that are at a very unusually high level of playing. Professionals are just those that make money from teaching or accompanying or performing. Amateurs typically, are not, and definitely there are amateurs that are much, much stronger in piano playing than your typical professionals or piano teachers. So one thing that was really inspiring was this idea of just sharing what we're working on, like just going up and doing it. And I feel like it's much less common in the professional mindset. Like one of the amateur pianist participants that I made friends with, when the recital, there were two recitals, when one of the recitals was coming up, she said to me like, oh, it's just us. It's like, in terms of the performances, it's not like it's outside people, it's just us, we're just sharing music with each other. And that really struck me that typically in the professional world, we don't really have that mindset. We're not usually like casually sharing. It's always our egos that are at stake. What if we play badly? What if it harms our reputations? What if we don't show our best selves? Oh, the piece isn't ready yet. The piece isn't perfect yet. So it's not really ready to share yet. Probably I'll skip out on this performance until I can perfect it, as opposed to, oh, I'm just trying things now and I'm just going to share it because it's just with my fellow participants. It's just with everybody else and we're all here to learn and grow together. So that was really inspiring to me. I feel like some of these lessons, I understood them. It's not like I'd never gotten out of my comfort zone before, or I never had beginner's mind before, but it was just hammered home even more at a much deeper level. And I think as learners and as thinkers, when we learn these same lessons from different angles and with different depths and with different variations and with different perspectives and inputs, it's much more likely that it'll lead to deeper learning. It'll become a part of our being. So I was very grateful to be there as a student. I was very grateful to be inspired, not only by the fantastic teachers that were there, but also by my fellow participants as well. So that's the second lesson, that to keep this beginner's mind, right? In the beginner's mind, there's many possibilities, in the experts, there are few. Third lesson, you increase your luck surface area by exposure to new types of experiences. So I'll just say briefly here, this was an event unlike anything that I had attended before. It wasn't like the really serious, intense piano festivals I attended in the past. For better or for worse, I was, one of the strongest pianists there. So it's kind of the opposite. So some of the pressure was removed from that. It was definitely much more friendly and less pressure than some other situations that I've been in. But being surrounded by lots of really serious amateur pianists, some professionals as well, and then obviously being inspired by these world-class artists and playing in 4 masterclasses like within such like a brief time, and having other really inspiring lessons, lectures, workshops, and so on. I really did. When I say luck surface area, I mean increasing the area through which luck can find you. So I won't go too much into all of the exact details, but let's just say that, first of all, in terms of piano playing, like I said, I had technical breakthroughs, which was lucky because that's not a guarantee. I didn't go into this thinking like, oh, I'm definitely going to like rapidly improve my piano playing like during the experience itself. But that is what happened. Like I actually improved my piano playing during the experience because of how incredible the instruction was, how incredible the experience was. And I felt re-inspired also in terms of mindset, in terms of beginner's mind, in terms of getting out of comfort zone, in terms of like amateur pianist mindset, because I think some of that is a lot healthier than professional mindset. I know a lot of these amateur pianists, after 3 to 5 years, their level of playing relative to what it is now, it's going to be way, way higher, like as a percentage increase compared to, some of my fellow professionals, where, to be honest, like our level, if we don't do something about it, it won't increase very much. In fact, it'll probably get worse because we just don't have as much time. So we actually want to carve out the time, make time for things that are important, invest in things that will actually help us to grow, just like some of these serious amateurs are doing. Obviously, in terms of my teaching, everything that I'm learning, I've increased my luck service area, because as I'm learning all these things, I'm going to impart it to all the students. And indeed, as intended, I'm just sharing things that have happened. I'm going to share more with my students too. If you're watching this video now, you can ask me any questions. And people have already told me that they've been inspired by this, that they think it's great that I'm playing for these incredible artists and so on. And in terms of business things also, again, I won't go too far into the details, but basically I'm just really happy that I am interacting with Tonebase. I think it's a fantastic company. I'm looking forward to chances to interact more in the future and continue building really great relationships with Tonebase. So lots of great things are happening there. And, you know, I will just say that at some point during the masterclass, Stephen Huff did say that I play extremely well, so that's always a nice bonus. I think it's not really just about like the praise and affirmation, but you know, I've worked hard for a long time. It is nice that I was lucky enough, like I was one of the few, very, very few professionals that like signed up for this. And so then I increased the chances that luck would find me here, because like I'm one of the highest level people at this thing, and so I'm more likely to be programmed into the events. This is one of the first Tonebase like piano intensives that have happened in person, and so you know, I'm one of the earliest people that knew about it and that participated, and so I'm building better relations with the people that are in charge, and everybody's awesome, by the way. And you know, and because I set aside the time, you know, I also practiced very seriously before this. I, you know, presented my best self, and I was lucky enough that I played well, and lucky enough that it was received well by some of these world level pianists, which in turn helps my confidence. And then I'm lucky enough that can then in turn help all of my students. So I know that was like kind of a long string of thoughts, but yeah, but basically, like, if you have new experiences, and this is an experience I'd never had before, there's just more chances because you're outside of your daily automatic routine where all the same stuff happens. I've just created many more chances for lucky things to happen to me. It's not guaranteed, but the chances are increased, and that is what has happened on many different levels. Okay, fourth lesson, following your intuition is extremely important in life's bigger decisions. So I don't think I made the wrong decision by isolating myself for so long, because as some of you know from my story, I practiced for like 6 to 8 hours, 8 to 10 hours a day, on the days that I could, of course, for years and years. After I got my master's degree in 2013, instead of going on to a doctorate, I felt instinctively I'd do much more on my own. And that was my intuition. That wasn't what my teacher originally wanted me to do. That wasn't what family originally wanted me to do. That wasn't what anybody advised me to do. In fact, I, financially, didn't make very much at all. I was just a normal piano teacher. I was just working part-time. And, I didn't go to any workshops. I didn't go to anything like what I just described. I didn't have any lessons. Well, I had lessons until 2015, but I didn't have any lessons after that. And I feel very strongly that that was the best decision for me at that time. I think if I went to festivals and had lessons and went to masterclasses and all that during that time period, I couldn't have built my business, David Chang Music, to the level that it's at today. I think I would have been too influenced by the outside world and sort of like old school conservatory thinking. So that was what my intuition told me at the time, and I can enjoy the life I have now with my wife and cats and family because of that decision that I made. But then, it's just a gut feeling that the time is right, now that I've taken care of a lot of other, personal and business things, to come back to the serious piano world. And it's in a very different way. Like, this was still like a very progressive event where it wasn't all high-level professionals. It was all different types of pianists that attended. But like the potential return was so high. I'm like, how could you not want to play for artists of this caliber? And I, of all people, like, have plenty of things that I can learn from them. So many things I can learn from them. And so I had a few doubts that I conquered internally, and but it just seemed like a no-brainer. And so, so my intuition told me that this was the perfect time to go back to being a student. And I'm very open to attending these types of events and participating and performing in the future if it aligns with my goals, if it aligns with my intuition. So I think that's very important. And even if you're not a piano student, even if you're not a professional pianist, I think this deep intuition, following your intuition, following joy, not just for like short-term, like junk food or alcohol or something like that, but I mean the larger stuff. Like if your career is making you feel fulfilled, if the place you're living is inspiring you, if the direction that you're headed, whether you should go back to school, whether you should stay in school, whether you should work this particular field or switch altogether, I think it's important to listen to these deep gut feelings, because life is just too short not to otherwise. So, and then finally, for the fifth lesson that I've written here, people don't like being told what to do so much as they like seeing an example of how to be. And so if I want my students to, continue taking lessons and learning and bettering themselves, then I should be, first of all, I played in masterclasses, piano masterclasses and lessons in a serious context. But so first of all, there's that's the obvious one. But even if I weren't doing that, I should definitely be investing in my own learnings in some way. So I probably will continue I'll continue watching videos. I'll continue exposing myself to serious classical piano, recordings and lectures and videos and all that sort of thing. And I actually would like to participate more in events like this, as long as it helps me to become a better pianist, which often it definitely seems like it will. So so if I want them to do that, I have to do it myself. I have to be learning. Either I have to be taking lessons and playing as well, or I have to be at least very invested in my own learning, just the same way that they are. If I want them to be practicing, then I better be practicing. So like, to prepare for this intensive that I was just a participant in, I put in a really serious practice week beforehand, where I practiced, I would say, at an average of maybe like 6 hours a day for the week preceding. I also had an 8-hour plus day, which was the first time I had, because it's not as easy when I was a student and I didn't have a business to run, or tons and tons of teacher students to manage and so on. So I did that, and I also I canceled like many other commitments so I could like really practice really seriously. If I want my students to perform, then I should be performing as well too. So I perform in these masterclasses. I'm always performing on outdoor pianos and things, performing in different contexts. So it doesn't have to be like an exact like, oh, if they perform in this situation, I have to perform in the exact same situation. But I've at least got to be a good example of somebody who's able to perform in any sort of situation, whether it's like formal or more casual. And if I want them to be getting out of their comfort zones, I need to be getting out of my comfort zone. I need to be challenging myself. I need to be going into experiences that make me uncomfortable so that I can continue growing. So I'm hoping that as people see me passionate about bettering myself, about improving myself relentlessly as a pianist, as a learner, as a teacher, as a performer, that they will in turn feel inspired to do the same. So those are my thinkings. It still ended up kind of long, but that's why I decided to go back and be a student again. Very, very rewarding. It was a very, very joyful experience. So just briefly, the lessons were: lesson 1, get out of your comfort zone in new ways sometimes in order to grow. Lesson 2, in a beginner's mind, there are many possibilities, but in an expert's, there are few. And you should empty the cup so new information can come in. Lesson 3, you increase your luck surface area by exposure to new types of experiences. Lesson 4, following your intuition is extremely important in life's bigger decisions. And lesson 5, people don't like being told what to do so much as they like seeing an example of how to be. So let me know if you guys have any questions about this. Have you learned lessons in similar contexts? Do you think that there's any other lessons to be had here? And let me know your thoughts. And if you found this valuable, please like, subscribe, let people know about the channel. And looking forward to the next one.